Hello, everyone. I'm Carly, and I understand that cash counts as taxable income.
And I'm Sam, and I'm willing to take a little cash under the table, and we don't have to tell nobody. But for legal purposes, of course, that was a joke.
For legal reasons.
Yeah.
And welcome to Read Receipts with Carly and Sam, our brand new book-based podcast covering all the latest hits and some stories off the beaten path.
With a few fun and exclusive episodes mixed in between.
And I think today we're going to have a little bit of both of those things.
Oh?
Yeah, because today we are genre hopping over into the mystery thriller world with a new book, Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkauf.
And everyone is watching, Carly, so...
There better be. We have a YouTube video.
Everyone is watching to see how we cover and rate this book. I'm pretty excited that we're switching genres here because it's going to be structured a little bit differently than our previous episodes.
Yeah, there's not as much planning and theorizing. I mean, we can talk about the theories we had during the book, but we don't have to think so much about after.
Oh, for sure.
It's much more, like you said, a very vibe situation of just like, we just
Yes.
get to read and have fun.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting, and I'm really glad that you guys get to come along this journey with us. Mm-hmm. But of course, before we really dive into the book, we just want to remind you all that because this is a book-based podcast, we are going to be covering plot summaries, character personalities, overall theories, how we liked the book, all the twists, turns, and ending, of course. So, as always, this is a spoiler warning. If you haven't read the book, please pause here, go read it, come back when you're done. You've been warned.
Yeah, I'm excited too because I honestly haven't read a mystery thriller in a long time. Like, not only is this first for the podcast, but it's been so long since I've been in this genre. I feel like I've been in fantasy world for so long.
Yes.
So it is really exciting.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun doing this.
I definitely felt that way, especially with reading fantasy for the podcast. So if you haven't been listening, our last couple of episodes have been pretty fantasy heavy. And as fantasy books go, they are a little bit longer. There's a lot more detail and world building and all of that involved with fantasy. So there wasn't as much of that with the mystery thriller, but I think it was still engaging that we got to theorize about what was going to happen, who did it, sort of.
Yeah, did we catch on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do think that that's exciting that we're kind of keeping some of that intrigue, but in a completely different light.
Right, yeah. Well, should we read the back of the book summaries so that way, in case anyone hasn't read it yet?
Yes.
The best friend, the confidant, the senator, the boyfriend, the executive. 5 contestants have been chosen to compete for $10 million on the game show One Lucky Winner. The catch? None of them knows what or who to expect, and it will be live streamed all over the world. Completely secluded in an estate in Northern California, with strict instructions not to leave the property, and zero contact with the outside world, the competitors start to feel a little too isolated. When long-kept secrets begin to rise to the surface, the contestants realize this is no longer just a reality show. Someone is out for blood, and the game can't end until the world knows who the contestants really are. And that's it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there's a lot to unravel with this book. Not only how, obviously with books like these, how the contestants kind of found themselves in this space, because I feel like that's always a reoccurring theme whenever people are invited to like a party or a game show. There's always some kind of thread that connects them all. So not only do we have that, but we also have, you know, backstories of all of these characters to kind of dive into, which I think is super important, which is why we're also going to give you a quick, I guess, sort of character review / character summary of all of the people that we have at play here. So we're going to start with Mare, who is the best friend. That's her kind of tagline on the show.
Yeah.
She's a single mother to 2 daughters, one with an illness.
Yeah.
And that's kind of her whole reasoning behind going on the show. We have Samuel, the boyfriend, who by name was someone's boyfriend at some point.
It turns out he was a lawyer, and he was involved in a more, not high profile, but more talked about case.
Then we have Camille, who is the confidant. And again, confidant kind of relates to her career. She's a psychiatrist.
She's a therapist.
Yeah. So there's a lot of secrets to unravel there, of course. Then we have Ned, the executive, who I guess was an executive on a true crime show.
Yes.
He's got a lot of I don't know, his personality, there's a lot.
At first, I thought you were going to say he has some quirks, and it's like,
you could call him that.
you could call him that. Very nice way to put it.
A very nice and undeserving way.
Yes.
And then we have the senator, our last kind of player for the game. His real name, I think, is like Richard.
Unnecessary.
But there's not that much that you really need to know about him until I think we get to the point where we talk about him a little bit more. This is just kind of a background. And then we have a couple of other characters. Fern, the assistant, who is kind of assisting everything that's going on behind the scenes with this whole game show. And Kat, who is the mastermind behind the game show. It was kind of her idea. She's kind of funding this whole thing. But it's all in secret.
Yes.
So those are kind of the players that we're working with. And I think we had already kind of mentioned that we're going to go through this episode a little bit differently than we've gone through our previous episodes, primarily because it is a different genre, a different way at like looking at things. And I think, like with what was said earlier, the characters are going to play a really important role in that, because we're going to kind of go through character by character and analyze and reveal the things that were discovered about each character as we read the book, and hopefully it'll kind of unfold that way for you guys as well, so it almost kind of feels like you're reading it with us.
Yeah.
And like getting our thoughts as we're talking about them.
Yeah.
Before we get into that though, I think as per usual, let's give a book review of what we thought of the book as a whole.
So I enjoyed the book. I think I gave it a 3.75, which I kind of think I've given everything so far on this podcast.
That feels kind of like where you've aligned.
Everything's like not quite in that floor range for me. So basically, the pros. I did really have a good time. I did feel like it kept me on the edge of my seat. Like it delivered on the thriller aspect of it for sure. But I think the main reason why it detracted for me was because of the end and the twist. Because, the whole time, in my mind, it's like Kat is a bit too obvious of an answer for who's behind all this, right? Like, we kind of know from the beginning that Kat's in charge. So,
Fair.
For me, I was kind of like a little disappointed that it basically did end up being Kat. Like, I guess more of the surprise was exactly how and why it was Kat, in my opinion. Honestly, even throughout the book, I was like, I don't see how it could be anyone else. We only have so many characters to work with. I just didn't love the way it ended, but I still, it still made sense. It just wasn't the most shocking to me, but I still enjoyed it. And it was a nice, easy read, which I also enjoyed. Again, it's like, It's been a while since something like that's been around. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts on it.
I gave it a 3, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that was generous.
Wow.
I didn't love it. It's also been a while since I've personally read a mystery, thriller, suspense kind of book. So I think part of the reason why I gave it a little bit more was because it did kind of pull me back a little bit into that genre. And I do definitely want to dive more into that, both on the podcast and just in my personal reading time. Mm-hmm. But I found the twists and, like you said, the ending very lackluster. I didn't really put it together until very close to the end that Kat was kind of behind everything, but I don't think it was because I wasn't smart enough to do it. I think I just wasn't in the mindset of trying to solve the puzzle because I hadn't been previously with everything that we've been reading and everything that I've been reading personally. So I wasn't in the mindset of trying to figure out who was behind everything. I was kind of just seeing how it unfolded and seeing what all of the crazy elements to the game were going to be, and like my feelings about, the game changers, like a knife. Oh my God. And I also think because the game was so wild, I just wasn't invested in that. I thought it was more delusional than, oh, this is something that people would want to be a part of. I thought it was insane. Yeah,
100%. I actually do have a lot of critiques on the game element. As someone who's a huge reality TV fan, I'm like, none of this would fly. Mm-hmm. None of this is okay.
100%.
Like, I understand that we have a production manager. I don't remember what his name was, but we had we had a behind the scenes person. And it's like, there's no lawyers involved.
And they kept saying, you signed the contract. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To be stabbed?
Yeah, exactly. 10 million is a lot of money, but still, to have deadly stakes, you can't kill people.
Yeah.
On Survivor all the time, we see people getting pulled out of the game because at the end of the day, they're scared that people are going to die.
Yeah.
They're not going to let that happen.
100%. I mean, the legal nightmare.
Yes.
Alone.
And at one point, there are like so many little things about that. Whenever I think Fern also says something to Mare at one point, being like, well, you signed the contract, you have to give us your phone. And which taking your phone is normal for a show.
Sure.
But not being allowed to tell your family where you're going? Mm-hmm. Like, she was like, we'll let you know if anything happens. And it's like, no one would tell you if anything happens. No one knows she's there.
And the guise of everything, even though nobody really knows that she's there because she didn't tell anybody, they were supposed to be at a completely different resort. Like, even if she had said, this is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm doing, nobody really knows because it was all a lie. Like, it was all guised under, and what was in this contract? Like, you know?
Yeah, it is honestly, Kat is so lucky that she died in the end because she would have been in such a lawsuit. She'd be so locked up so fast. There's nothing legal. Just because it's in a contract does not make it legal in the eyes of the law.
It was very, I mean, that whole aspect of the game was just one thing that I don't know, I wasn't super invested in the way that the game was being run. And so that was part of the reason why I rated it lower as well. And the fact that, like what you were saying about the twist and the ending it was lackluster to me. It wasn't something that nobody could figure out. It also kind of came almost as a shock to me, but not in the way that you want a thriller mystery to shock you. It was mostly as a shock in the way of, I can't believe Kat is still doing this 20 years after all of these events have happened kind of way. Girl. I gave it a 3, and I do think that was a little bit generous.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I do think it's not the best. I think that if I had read more or have been more in this space, I probably would rate it lower. But, you know, I kind of rate my experience usually pretty highly, which is why I think I landed
That's fair.
On a higher note.
I like that we're different in that way. I think I typically rate lower.
Yeah.
Other than, you know, saying that I was generous.
I'll agree with everything you say usually and be like, well, I still
That's true.
I still liked it. So, I don't know.
That is so true. Like, I'll tell Carly all of these things and she'll be like, yeah, that's a good point. But I still stand by my... Some people just won't be told.
Me being able to pick something apart is for some reason not a reason for me to dislike it. I don't know. I think I weigh my pros too heavily. I have been getting more harsh, though, through this podcast. I've been getting more harsh as a critic. Because, I mean, to be honest, When the Moon Hatched probably would have stayed in the 4 range if it weren't for more thinking.
Yes, thinking about it.
This probably would have been a 4 if I... wasn't doing it for the podcast.
Like critically thinking.
Yeah, my critique only brought it down by 0.25, but still. Well, since we're already talking about some of the ending through our reviews, let's go ahead and start talking about the ending in general, more of the details. The way I personally felt about the ending, I mean, I already talked about it a little bit, but I think another part that I forgot about that was disappointing about the ending is that Kat died.
Yeah.
We're getting information about her secondhand later on, and I didn't really like that. I mean, it's satisfying that she killed Ned in the process.
Right.
I thought that it was pretty lackluster that the ending revealed that Kat was behind it. I just kept hoping that something would happen. I'm like, Kat's the only possible option, right?
Right.
That's how I felt.
I think if you really thought about it, it would make sense because obviously we know from the beginning that she is the mastermind behind all of this. Like, I understand that Fern, and they made it seem like, oh, Fern did all of the research, but we know that Fern doesn't do anything without Kat's say-so.
Yeah.
You know, we all know that even if Fern was the one that did the research, that reached out to the candidates, we know that Kat was kind of pulling the strings in the background. And I must have just not been in the mindset to really put it together because, like I said, I didn't really put it together until very close to the ending. But you definitely could have. Like, it was definitely possible.
Yeah, so I ended up figuring it out early, on the earlier side. I don't remember exactly how early, but it was when we got Mare's first flashback because they start mentioning that little friend group, and they mention a girl named Figgy, and they say, we call her Figgy, but we don't know why. We don't know what her real name is.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I wonder if that's Kat. Let me go see what Kat's full name is because I wonder if there's something about Figgy in it. So I go back, and then I saw that it was Catalina, and I was like, oh,
interesting.
okay, so she's Catalina, she's Lena, okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that was pretty early on. Look at you.
I didn't, but again, it was kind of annoying that it's like, I figured it out so early.
Sure, yes.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I had been reading this for vibes, I don't know if I would have done that.
Yes.
So maybe it would have been a little more shocking. But
I think I was reading it for vibes, and that's why I didn't.
yeah, so at least you got
it.
You got a little bit of that. I guess from that point on, it was like, okay, so it's Kat, but how is Kat related to all these people? Mm-hmm. And even that was kind of lackluster, because basically, like you said, she's just holding a bunch of grudges. There's the only valid one is Ned, I think. And and technically, okay, I guess I could kind of see Camille's, just because it does feel like sort of a break in professional integrity. I don't know if that's really the right way to say it. Mm-hmm. But as a therapist, I don't think you're really allowed to tell your clients straight up what to do.
Yeah.
From that perspective, I could also see how that's, you could hold a grudge, again, not put them in a deathly situation.
Sure.
But, I could see how you hold that grudge. But yeah, everyone else, it's like, so what? They, like, obviously, sure, being cheated on with a kiss, like, that sucks, but it happened 20 years ago.
It happened so long ago, Kat, sister.
Okay, so here's the other thing I really am like, what? Is that we get the reveal that what did Kat have? Okay, yeah, Huntington's disease. We were going to look this up earlier. A rare inherited brain disorder that causes nerve cells to break down, leading to uncontrolled movements, cognitive decline, and behavioral changes.
Mm-hmm. So we know, it's a pretty bad illness, and we know it's terminal. Is
that
the right word? Like, there's no cure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess also, I didn't think about, because, like, I didn't know exactly what that disease was, not off the top of my head. I wonder if that's technically supposed to explain this really irrational behavior. They said cognitive decline.
Yes.
In that description. I don't know exactly in what way they mean.
Yes. I'm not entirely sure that she would have lost enough cognitive decline to explain everything that she did here on the show. I think that was truly her.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Didn't Fern say that she'd been working with Kat for like 10 years?
Yeah.
So, and from what I understand, she's kind of been like this the whole time.
The whole time.
Not only is Kat insane, it's like, okay, Kat as a character is insane. Got it. But then we get the letter that she leaves to Fern, where she acts like she just loved the Fern the whole time. Who wrote this? It just made no sense to me. This is rewriting history right here. Yeah. It is not congruent with her character.
I think at that point, I really thought that it was just because Kat was looking to, like, absolve herself in her legacy of how Fern might remember her. And, like, Fern might remember her as somebody that gave her all of this money.
Yeah.
Know? So I think she mostly is doing it as, like, this is the last thing. This is how I want you to remember me.
Yeah, I guess. I thought it was such bullshit. I was like...
I mean, that's fair. You know what I thought was bullshit? What? I thought it was bullshit that Kat, not only was Kat behind all of this, but that the reason she was behind it was revenge because she's dying. I hated that.
Yes.
Hated that. I hated that it was used as an excuse of, like, well, I'm gonna die anyway. Like, I might as well.
Yeah. Also, the way that she's like, I have to go out with a bang. It's like, you threaten people's lives.
Please, Kat. Like, please.
To be honest, okay, I was really thinking about how would this game have gone if she wasn't locked in the cellar the whole time. I think she would have gotten in trouble way sooner. I'm just imagining how much worse the competitions could have gone if they kind of went the way she intended and not the way Fern ended up supervising it as,
Interesting.
Like, it might have gone worse if Kat had full reign.
Fair. So fair.
And so, to be honest, I don't think she would have gotten her chance at killing herself before she would have gotten arrested. I don't think they clearly did not think this through at all.
There was so much with that I could not get behind. Hence my lower rating.
Right. So, I guess that concludes, I feel like, my feelings of the ending.
I think most of my feelings are very similar to your feelings about how inane it was. I think the way that the ending went and all of the things that we discovered, and for me, primarily the disease kind of being used as her scapegoat for everything that she was doing. And, for you mentioned the letter.
I did think it was kind of sweet that, Fern ends up with the money.
Agreed.
And that she, it happens to come out to, like, the $10 million.
Yes.
And I did like that she then also gave some of it to Mare, because Mare we really saw the only person who was ever really committed to going through with anything, she might second guess it for a moment, but she would push through anyway, is Mare.
I had a lot of thoughts about Mare, which I think we can get into once we get into the character analysis.
Do you want to just go ahead and talk about Mare?
I think we should start with Fern.
Oh, okay. Sure, let's start with Fern.
I think we should start with Fern because obviously they have the most recent, closest relationship. Mm-hmm. And there were so many times where, I mean, obviously there have been situations, I'm sure, where I have been abused by a boss or, or people out there have maybe been,
but girl,
torn down a little bit by a boss.
Yeah.
But girl,
have some self-respect. Have some boundaries.
Yes.
Especially, it didn't sound like she was getting paid all that much for her job.
No, not at all, for how much she worked and how dedicated she was to Kat as well. Like, I understand her feeling the need to pay Kat back for essentially, saving her from being sexually assaulted.
Yes.
But at some point, that has to stop. At some point, you have to respect yourself enough to stand up for yourself.
Yeah. And not only that, she talked about multiple times how she doesn't have any friends. She's not connected with her family. Like, she had been, truly, Kat was like an abuser. She had isolated her from anyone else. Mm-hmm. Kat was her only person. So it is, I guess, kind of hard to, really critique her a whole lot because if we really compare it to that, then she is the victim of abuse. Mm-hmm. But
and we don't victim blame here.
And we don't victim blame. She saw the show as her potential to get out.
Yes.
And that's part of why she then started making really horrible decisions of locking Kat in a wine cellar, which to be honest, I thought Kat was going to die.
In the wine cellar? I did too.
There was at one point she was like rationalizing with herself of when she was going to get Kat out. And I was like, how is Kat alive? There's no way Kat's alive.
I also thought that because I thought, what is she eating?
Yes.
And is she only drinking wine? She's going to be so dehydrated.
Yeah, that cannot be enough. Honestly, the fact that Kat got out of that wine cellar.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive, but also how? With what energy?
I really did think that the story, now that you bring that up, was going to go in a completely different route and that it was going to be like someone finding Kat's dead body.
Yes!
And it was going to be like a whodunit, and Fern was going to have to continue running the show while also figuring out. I thought Fern was going to be our main character, really.
Yeah. I thought it was going to go in the direction of a mystery where, usually we start with one thing and then we get it halfway through, oh no, a new murder.
Yes.
Kind of compounding on that.
Yes.
And so it is, now that I think about it,
that might have been a little bit more interesting.
For sure. I know it's a classic, but it's a classic for a reason.
It's a classic for a reason.
Adds a fun twist.
Yes.
Why not? We already don't like Kat.
Why not?
Go ahead, kill her. She wanted to die.
She did want to anyway. At the very end, she wanted to go out with a bang.
Yes, a whimper.
I don't know that.
Literally,
I don't know
on the floor,
if that would have been a bang, but
not by her standards. Definitely not.
Yeah, I really felt bad for Fern. Felt bad for her, but also I wanted more for her.
Yeah, And I definitely got stressed out throughout this whole book with every bad decision she made.
Yes.
Because honestly, all of these decisions were horrible, like we said, and she's just going along with it. And it's like, at one point...
You know better.
Yes. At one point, we put a gun in a situation.
Yeah.
A knife in a situation.
Yes.
Why are we adding weapons to a TV show?
Yes, and now that you are essentially in charge, why are you letting this go by?
Yeah.
Because you know better. I did just want better for her, I think.
Yeah. She was so overpowered by Kat that she's like, I have to, stick to the script. Mm-hmm. I have to, if I just get it better, if I just prove that I'm doing a good job, then maybe Kat will forgive me for locking her in a cellar.
Yes. I don't think that was ever going to be a possiwe're anyway, Fern. Regardless of how everything turned out, you locking her in a cellar, I don't.
Yeah. It's like, you've met Kat, right?
Yeah. We're talking about the same woman, right? Okay. I don't know if you have any more to say about Fern.
Not Fern as Fern. If Fern was, yeah.
I have some things to say about if Fern maybe wasn't Fern, question mark. But maybe before we get into that, we can talk a little bit about where that sort of comes in.
Yes.
And to which character backstory that sort of comes in.
Right.
So I guess that means that we need to lead into Camille
a
little bit. How did you feel about Camille as a character?
She was really interesting to me. There were times that I liked her and times that I was like, God, woman, you're a lot.
Okay.
But she definitely was interesting because the fact that she was more, I mean, Mayor was self-interested, but she was still self-interested selflessly. You know, she was self-interested for her daughter.
Sure.
Whereas Camille was self-interested just for herself. And it was really ridiculous the way that she was, you know, she's just so in debt basically that's why she needs this money. $10 million she needs.
How much debt do you have, Camille?
Yeah, how lavish of a life are we living?
My gosh.
It also really killed me. This is why I referenced it in my intro, that she really thought cash didn't get to count as taxable income. It's like, just as you get it in cash, like, sure, there's not as a clear record of it, but you need to report that. It still counts.
I'm sure there are a lot of people, though.
Oh, for sure. But just so you know...
Just so that our
Just so you know,
for like, legal purposes.
If you get gift money, that's different. I don't know the specifics. You can figure that one out. But if you have a business and you receive cash, you still have to report that cash. It is still income.
And her taking all that money under the table, my God.
Yeah. I did think that her backstory with the whole, I can't remember the guy's name now, but the guy she ends up getting killed, that did not go...
Travis, Wingo?
Yes, Wingo. Mm-hmm. That did not go as I expected. I can't believe she had such a dark past that she just let this guy get killed.
That felt very out of nowhere to me. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Camille's backstory was intriguing enough, if I'm being honest, with all her debt and all her, like...
Yeah.
There was just enough there that I was like... Okay, she's clearly a problematic character, and she clearly has a motivation to be on this show. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that she really needed this whole story with Travis Wingo included in her past.
And it was still a little weird, too, because, you know, they present this throughout that he gives stalker vibes. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he is a stalker. He ends up showing up in her house. That's not normal behavior. But she herself is like, he's not actually dangerous. Mm-hmm. He's not going to hurt me. And to be frank, like, if I were in her situation, I would not necessarily feel that way. And if then the police came up to the door and was like, are you in danger? I'd be like, yeah, someone's in my house.
Yeah.
So, like, on one hand, it's like, I can't really fault her for her actions, but when you know her thought process and how she was like, I really don't see him as a threat.
It's hard when you know her thought process.
Yeah.
It was just very shocking, of course, but really something that I thought was completely crazy to have be a part of her past.
Yeah. With some of her flashbacks, I was a little bit like, okay, where is this going exactly? Mm-hmm. So that did feel like a pretty big twist, I guess, that she really not committed murder, but in a way.
That's so fair. That's so fair. How did you feel about her part of the backstory with her connection to Kat?
Oh, there's
so much with Camille as we're unraveling this. She's got so much of a backstory.
Yeah, she really does. Because, it's not surprising that she ended up being Kat's marriage counselor. And again, I was like, this feels really out of line to tell her partner outright, like, this is unredeemable. I mean, in some ways,
Leave
it's
her.
like, it's like, don't get me wrong. I think sometimes it's good for someone to say it, but I don't know if it should be the paid professional.
Yeah.
Maybe one of Jack's friends could say that if they wanted to. I don't know.
I mean, I guess, but like, how would you get to that point, you know, if nobody's telling Jack?
Yeah.
Hey.
Especially if Kat's behavior towards Jack is anything like her behavior towards Fern, Jack might not have any other friends.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So
I feel like, I mean, I don't know ethically as a non-therapist what position you would find yourself in and if you're legally allowed to do that. But I do think, you know, at some point you maybe, if you think especially your client is in danger or, you know, something might be happening, like I do think it's probably fair and allowed for you to say something like that. Hey, you need to get out of this relationship.
But
fair. I do think the way that Camille did it was kind of insane, which tracks for a lot of Camille's actions, you know?
She's pretty unhinged. If we consider, once again, Jack to be an abusive relationship, you know, it does seem fair to say something. It's just crazy that she really did it with Kat there. She just turned to Jack, just was like, I don't see Kat right now.
And said it.
And said it in front of her.
And just said, leave her.
Yeah, leave her. This is not redeemable.
Yeah. Just one unhinged thing after another with Camille, because let's talk about Nan.
Dude, okay. So, actually, do you want to talk about your thoughts about Nan? Because I had a whole conspiracy theory around Nan.
Oh, okay. I'll go first then. Yes. Nan, immediately out of the gate, Fern, right? Did
Yes.
everyone else think that? Because I know that I said that thing about not really knowing, not putting it together that Kat was Lena and was the connection behind everyone. But immediately, I knew Nan was Fern.
Right.
Or at the very least thought, like, this is probably where this twist is going. Like, maybe it's not, but, like, pretty likely.
Yeah, that
you
feels
know?
like what they're presenting to us.
Yes, because everything was exactly the same, you know, and I mean, even her style was kind of the same.
Yes.
And obviously her complaints about her boss, the big project that her boss is working on, how much she feels like she owes her boss. These are all Fern's thoughts. Mm-hmm. So I pretty quickly realized that Fern had known Camille before and had thought really heavily about how much her involvement in choosing Camille as a contestant for the show played into the larger scheme of things. This was, of course, obviously before I knew that Kat and Kat's ex-husband Jack were clients of Camille, so that might negate that whole theory. But I really thought in that instance, maybe Fern has a lot more to do with everything that's going on with this show than we were led to believe.
Yeah. I was the same way where when Nan was introduced, I was like, this has to be Fern because of all the comments that she's saying to Camille about her boss, yada, yada.
Sure.
I didn't really think too hard about, I guess in my mind, I was like, if we're getting Fern's POV, I would be surprised if she is involved in the plotting and scheming in some way.
That is fair.
Not
She
that
didn't
it's-
say anything.
Right. Not that it's not impossible, but, you know,
Right.
that was kind of in that moment how I was like, okay, not counting her for now.
Sure.
But then I had the realization or the thought of, well, we have Fern's POV, and she's not mentioned once that she recognizes Camille. She has admitted to us that she knows Ned, so, you know, it seems only fair that she
That's
would
fair.
say the same thing about Camille. Why would that be a secret? So then I thought to myself, what if that was Kat in disguise as Fern? I don't know exactly why she would do all this, but it felt like, what if she is like pretending to be Fern as some sort of cover, basically, as a reason to get back into Camille's office for something. Like, I was kind of thinking Camille at one point in one of the competitions, like, they reveal something about a painting that's in her office. I thought maybe it was Kat getting back in there to, like, find things
To
for,
see something.
for
Yeah.
the game.
Whoa.
But it's hard to know because, you know, at the end, Camille is really pushing Fern on, like, you've been at my office before. I know I've met you. And she's like, no, we've never met. I've never been to your office. And Kat's like, yeah, I told you, Fern's not smart enough to do this.
It is at that point that I thought maybe if it were Fern, she would have said something. At that point, I
Yeah.
was thinking, wow, Fern must be just like a great actor, which is not how she's been displayed in her personality.
Right.
So I guess that was a little bit of a plot hole that, oh, maybe it's not Fern. But I never considered that it could be anyone else. I just kept thinking, oh, maybe she really is a good actor. Like, I don't, it's gotta be her. It has to be.
And when Camille kept pushing about the Nan thing, and like, because she several times kept coming back to Fern being like, but this, and like bringing up things.
Yeah.
And Kat was kind of the one a lot of times to be like, you must just be wrong. You must have just been some rando, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's why
That's wild.
it would be crazy to me. It is part of the plot that was Kat, but it's just never confirmed for us.
But here's the
But
thing.
what else could it be?
Here's the thing. It wouldn't be a crazy thing for Kat to do.
Right. It
It's
wouldn't be.
believable for sure.
But why wouldn't they tell us in the story?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that's a fun negative information to know.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And it's disappointing that it, like, if it's not Cat and it is truly just a random, then that's annoying.
That is
I might
true,
be
yeah,
dropping
but
my
it's not-
rating.
it's
I
not-
Think, I think I'm actually feeling a 2.5. That really makes me upset. Why did we go through so many scenes of Nan?
I think it must have been in the thought process of the author. It must have been Fern. I don't know why they would never give us the big reveal. Why the author would never give us the big reveal.
Right.
But I don't think surely it wasn't a random person. Because what would be the point of having so many Nan scenes?
Yes, exactly.
If it were a random person. So surely it wasn't.
Yeah, it better not, because I'm like, technically it could be a red herring, but I don't think I've ever encountered a red herring that's like this present in the story.
So prominent. Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems crazy to me.
100%.
I'm going to look up Heather Gudenkauf, see if she's like doing any tours.
And ask this question.
I have a question.
Ma'am,
who was Nan? What's the truth?
give us the truth.
Give us the truth. I don't get it. It doesn't matter, but I want to know.
I want to know.
Because that was kind of an exciting moment for me when I was like, I think it was Kat, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's an exciting twist.
That is a wild twist.
And then...
That would have been so great, though.
Who knows?
That would have been so... I might have given it a 3.5. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we've talked about how unhinged Kat is, and it's come up how unhinged Camille is as well. I need to know your thoughts on Mare, the women of our
It's really...
book here. Because
yeah.
I think she is also a little bit unhinged.
For sure.
And I want to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, she's definitely also unhinged. Like I said, she is the only person that really is willing to play the game as intended because her stakes are so much different than everyone else's.
Of course.
Everyone else is really there for more selfish reasons, it feels like, compared to her. I get that can be a driving factor.
Yeah.
But I was very much Team Samuel, where it's like, let's take a step back. We don't have to do this.
Right.
Because there were plenty of times where Samuel's like, if all of us band together and say, no, we're not going to do this.
Right.
What are they going to do?
Yes.
And I think that would have worked. Vern was barely hanging by a thread.
Yes.
I think they could have done that. But
Yes.
Mare just was every time like, nope.
Also,
we have to do it.
There were only 5 of them. I get how difficult that must be if you are trying to convince 30 contestants to ban against this insane game show. But there were only 5 of them, and clearly at that point, they had already gotten through some pretty wild shit. I mean...
I think there was even... At one point, I think this came up after the senator was gone. So even better, there were 4 of them left. And pretty much everyone else, I think Ned, I guess, was a little bit more iffy. But I think he could have been convinced to stand down.
Convinced. Even after the first challenge they all went through when they had been tased. Like,
yes, oh my god, I forgot about the tasing.
Already... this is taking a turn. I feel like at that point, maybe even would have been the easiest to convince everyone, hey, this is not what we signed up for.
Yeah, this is too much. I did like Mare because obviously we find out her sympathetic backstory. But I mean, honestly, I guess the things that I liked about her didn't really have to do with her. It was more so just her situation.
Yes.
And sympathizing for that.
Agreed. The only thing I really sympathized with her about was her wanting to do all of this for her daughter, who is sick, because of course, you know, who's not going to sympathize with something like that? But like what you were saying, everything else, it was mostly situational. It wasn't really anything that she had to do in her personality that like brought any of that out. It wasn't any of that. It was just the situations that she was finding herself in.
And if she just wasn't so nearsighted about the whole situation, like if she really took a second to think about, if we can manage to all do this, if we can organize ourselves and make them not put our lives on the line, she could have potentially still won the money and not risked her life, not risked everyone else's lives. She was definitely frustrating at times. And her backstory was pretty surprising.
And also kind of unhinged, no?
Yes, it was very out of nowhere. And I mean, yeah, honestly, with everything else that we knew about her, it was pretty weird, the fact that she did this whole thing where she lays in the road and like basically drives a car off the road.
Yes. How has this not happened before? If this was something that she had said was something that she and her friends were doing in their small little hometown, how is this something that has not happened before? Because they're not just doing it, I mean, they're laying there waiting to scare the driver, to freak out. And I feel like that would be a normal thing for a driver to just, you know, swerve out of the way and not hit someone. How has this not happened before?
Yeah, exactly. And also, this is just me. Anytime anyone suggests things like this, I'm like, this does not sound fun. This is stupid.
This is...
Why are we doing this?
Dangerous.
I don't get it. It's just, it's not my kind of fun, I guess.
Yeah. I thought she was incredibly unhinged in her backstory, with the car situation dragging Samuel into it.
Yeah.
I mean, surely he was definitely in a position where he could have spoken up for himself, but didn't. And so was she. There was also a lot of Fern in her as well, where there were moments where she really definitely should have spoken up for herself, but we don't victim blame here, so of course.
We don't victim blame.
We don't victim blame here. But I do kind of wish that she had found it in her to say something at the time, you know, and found it in her to find, I guess, in a way, her own personality, to where she didn't have to hang around these people. You know, there are other people, there are other things going on. Like, you don't have to subject yourself to this. You don't have to subject yourself to also pining for your best friend's boyfriend, who also shouldn't be your best friend, clearly doesn't treat you well.
Yeah.
Like, there
none
were
of these
so
people
many...
treated her well.
Yes.
Samuel technically did, but everyone else.
Yes. Yeah, there were so many situations where I just, like Fern, wanted better for her.
Yeah. You can see the psychology that basically led her to where she was, because I think she only did that road game to try and impress Samuel.
Agreed, yes.
And, like, prove something that, I can be fun too.
I can be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about Samuel, how did we feel about his backstory?
I mean, his backstory is basically, I got dragged along to shit with Mare, and now I'm on this TV show for a revenge plot, and he really, again, we don't victim blame here, and boy, was he a victim of everyone else's actions.
He was truly a victim.
Yeah.
Truly a victim of being dragged into everything with Mare, truly a victim of his ex-girlfriend bringing him onto this show 20 years later.
And it sounds like they didn't even date that long, because they broke up kind of soon after the events of that little moment.
Right.
I think they were only dating for a few months before that.
For a few months.
He's like,
was this really that big of an impact for you, Kat?
Imagine your most random ass ex. It was just a flash in the pan moment, and they drag you through the mud like 20 years later, being like, I'm gonna get you back for what you did to me. And you're like, what could I have done to you in 2 months?
I feel so bad about this too, because cheating is cheating. We also don't support cheaters in this house.
Yes.
But it was so slight. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yes, it was just a kiss.
They hadn't been cheating for like months.
Yeah. It was a weird situation. They just saw a guy die. I don't know. They seem to have thought that they were about to die as a result of that man.
Of the man, yes. There were heightened emotions, but also, again, cheating is cheating. But it was so slight that you would think, Kat, please get over it. You know?
It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really matter for where you are in your life now. Like, that this is something that you're choosing to make a part of this big revenge plot where people are like, they could die. Like, there is a big... There's a lot happening here.
Yeah.
That you're choosing to make something that is seemingly in the greater scheme of your life so insignificant be a part of this.
And also, you know, at the end, whenever Kat's doing her big reveal and they kind of get to her connection to Mare, and Kat's like, I needed a best friend and you were gone, you left me, blah, blah, blah. In my mind, it's just like, so you really like her and you care about her and you wish that she was there for her, so you're gonna bring her here and, like, potentially kill her.
Yeah.
Make that make sense, girl.
Yes.
How bad could it have been? I don't know. It just, like I said already, Ned and maybe Camille are the only people that she has maybe more real reason to be upset with at this point in time. Camille's event was a little more recent, and Ned's is a lifelong trauma that you deal with.
100%.
So,
let's talk about Ned's.
Yes, let's talk about Ned.
Yes. Bad guy.
Also, it's crazy how many people he did this to. At times throughout this book, we got POVs of people who were just watching the show, which I did like that. I thought that was kind of fun.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I did also like that.
And so we got a POV of someone who was like, oh, I know him.
And
I also was essayed by him. It was crazy to learn that this really was pervasive. This Fern was not a one-time thing. We find out Kat was also a victim, and, you know, clearly several other people were. So
it is very disappointing to find all of that out, but also, unfortunately, very realistic. And that's how this happens a lot of times in cases with SA. And like what you were saying, especially with like extremely powerful men, that, you know, these women are young, they're in positions where they don't really have a lot of power in terms of like related to the kind of power that the abuser has. And it's so disappointing to see that this is realistic, very realistic, in a way that this happens a lot to these women who then afterwards feel like they can't speak up because who's going to believe them?
Right. You saw both situations between both the POV that we got and Kat's original experience, and then when we see Fern and the way Kat, stuck up for her, that when we do try to fight it, then they got fired.
Exactly.
It's like a lose-lose situation. You either keep your mouth shut and try to just maintain the status quo and hope it never happens to you again, basically.
Yes.
Or you do fight it, you're going to lose your job. On a different note, Ned was such a whiny baby.
He also sucked in other ways as well.
Yeah, like whenever they did the maze thing and Mare had a flashlight, he's like, "Hey, not fair.
Yeah.
She has a flashlight."
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, shut up. They said that you could do whatever you want.
You could do whatever you want. Just play the game.
Yeah, I literally was like, this guy is the worst.
He is. Yeah. No, even without knowing any of that stuff about him essentially being an abuser.
Yeah.
He really still sucked.
Yeah.
He still sucked.
Oh, and also, I understand that Kat was also a victim of the same thing, but how sucky is it that when Fern opens that door expecting to find a completely different person and it's her abuser, and then Kat suggests, like, did you do this, Fern?
Yes.
When Kat's the one who did it the whole time. And again, further being like, Kat, why are you so crazy?
Yes. You know what Fern has gone through. You've gone through a similar situation with the same person. Like, why would you put that on her?
Yeah, even if we pretend that everything about this crazy revenge plot is like, whatever, this is your thing. To then accuse Fern of being the one who did this and, like, being a bitch to her about it is just like, can you not do one thing right?
Can you please? I think we mentioned this earlier, that Ned was probably the main character that deserved to be a part of this revenge plot.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe, I know you were saying maybe Camille. I'm not sure about that. I don't think Camille is a great person.
No, I agree.
But I don't know if she necessarily deserves to be a part of this revenge plot.
No, I still don't think she deserves to die and have a chance of dying. I just don't think that it's technically ethical what she did.
Sure.
Maybe. And that's me being like, I don't really know.
Sure. Ned sucked.
Yes.
So much
horrible
ass.
in every way.
Yes.
Yeah, not one good thing.
Yeah.
Well, with that, there's only one character left to talk about.
Right.
And it's the most irrelevant one.
What was his name again?
We hardly know his name because we just call him the senator throughout all of it.
We call him, yes. And everybody does. I think his name was Richard
Crowley.
Yes.
I had at one point Senator Crowley.
Oh, did you?
Is a Republican.
I mean, they didn't say that.
He's a Republican.
No, I 100% agree with you.
In case anyone wasn't sure. I was very intrigued about the senator situation because, everyone else, we had so much information about them, or we're getting a lot of information about them, but we weren't hearing as much about the senator. So I was very intrigued to find out exactly why he was here.
Yeah.
He just felt so out of place compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
And then the information that we did get was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kat, I don't think even met the guy.
Yeah.
Kat's at least had direct involvement with all of these people. It's just like, he is kind of responsible for me getting fired because I found dirt on him.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right then.
It did also kind of ruin the character as, like, this character is supposed to be incredibly wholesome. He's a family man, and that's kind of how he presents himself, which isn't incredibly interesting for reality TV, but is just how he presents himself. And then we find out that, Kat found all of this dirt on him. And he actually isn't that great of a guy. I mean, he's a politician, so, like, what can we expect?
Yeah. I also, first of all, they had like their little diary room session basically, and he was the first one to do one, and he said that he was going to give all his money to charity, and I immediately was just like, boo, don't go on reality TV if you're just going to donate it, boo.
I also feel that way, and I'm glad that you and I are aligned in that, because, like, why are you going to go through all of this if you're just going to give it to charity? At least be honest about what you want to do with this money. It's $10 million. That's life-changing.
Nothing pisses me off more than people who care about being a good person on reality TV.
You're on reality TV.
You're already here. Because it's a game. The point is that it's a game.
Yes.
And
the point is that you want to win the money. Like, who doesn't? You don't need to lie about it.
Yeah, it's fine. I understand that. I mean, I guess he probably does have more money in general as a politician who probably, you know, has his lobbyists and whatnot. Still, it's just like, shut up. Like, of course I don't want you to win. You're not gonna...
You're not bringing anything exciting to the table.
Yeah, everyone loves a story. Like, Mirror situation is what you want in a reality TV person. It's
something
like,
heartwarming that you can relate to, but isn't, I'm going to give it to charity.
right. Yes. And she's going to fight hard for it. She's going to play for it. That is who you want to see on TV.
Yes.
It's like, fuck off.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I hated it. So I didn't like that about him. And then also, this isn't actually about him. This is a dig at Kat, because, you know, he's the only one that actually ends up eliminated from the show. Mm-hmm. And Fern immediately is like, I'm supposed to send this email and this email. And one of those emails is the confidential information about how he had a mistress and has a secret son.
Yeah.
And when we get, you know, another POV change to that mistress, and not only is her name outed, but also the son's, I'm pretty sure. And that is just so gross. I feel like for Kat to have done that, the child deserves privacy.
Yes.
And that was really insane to me. And another dig at, like, why is Kat like this?
I think it was more so a dig, like what you were saying, at Kat. Like, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yes.
You know? Obviously, the senator is in the wrong here. And I do think it's important because his whole image and reputation is based on him being a family man, being very wholesome, being like a good guy.
And I'm sure that his policies probably conflict with this,
of course,
with this reality.
Yes, the reality of who he is and what he's been doing behind closed doors.
Right.
For sure. So I do think it's important that this information get out there, but like what you were saying, you know, it isn't necessary to drag other people through the mud that are kind of just equally as victims in this whole situation of the senator and his own actions.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that woman also, that was her job. Like, she was an escort, and so that's her job. She shouldn't be on the news because of her job. That's his problem.
Right, it's his, she shouldn't be painted as a victim because of this. Like, as...
a villain.
Yes, as a villain. As a villain.
She is a victim.
She is a victim. She shouldn't be
This
painted.
book is about, say it with me, victims.
We've lost the plot entirely.
We've lost the plot. The plot was already pretty weird.
The plot was victims.
The plot was victims. We all, and you know who the real victim of this was? Us as the readers.
There was a lot to go through with these characters and this story, and I think done a pretty good job at kind of dissecting everything you need to know / have probably thought while reading this book.
If you thought this book is weird and I need someone to relate to about it,
here we are.
Here we are. Your fellow victims.
We do love to cover a popular series, though. I mean, don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
Speaking of covering popular series, Carly?
Yes, so for our next book club episode, we are going to be covering the brutal, the polarizing, dystopian universe of the Hunger Games through Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. And I'm going to give you a bit of a back of the book summary. In case you guys didn't know, this is the 5th book. We had our trilogy of the Hunger Games, the 3 books there. There was Songbirds and Snakes, which was about snow. And so now we have Haymitch's story in this one. As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Panem. This year, in honor of the Quarter Quell, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Haymitch Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Haymitch's name is called, he can feel all his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with the 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive odds maker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Haymitch understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight, and have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. If you're used to emotional devastation from the Hunger Games, think times 10 with this book.
This is the book for you.
Yeah. If you said, I like the Hunger Games, but I wish it was sadder and more depressing, here you go.
Are.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I'm excited to really get into this because I do love the fact that she's kind of been expanding on this universe and we get these stories from these characters that we know pretty well from the Hunger Games, the original trilogy. But it's interesting to see kind of where they've come from and see how this has affected them as well. I'm excited to get into it with you guys.
I'm excited. It's gonna be good. I really recommend. I finished it. Everyone should read it. I really like it.
This podcast episode on Sunrise on the Reaping will come out Tuesday, June 3rd. But as always, we do have an off-the-shelf episode coming out before then on Tuesday, May 20th. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of our soon-to-be hit podcast, Read Receipts with Carly and Sam. All of the content that you hear in this episode was researched, curated, edited, recorded, all of the above by us truly, with special thanks to the authors of the books that we cover and Pixabay for the music that we play. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to listen. And for more of our content in between shows, you can follow us at the Read Receipts Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We love to see all of your likes. We love to read all of your comments. We love to just see you follow along in between episodes of the pod. So please, please, please make sure to follow us. Until our next read, bye!